Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I started a new job driving a cab, mostly driving people to and from hospital and medical clinics. I'm really cool with people who I see on a regular, and I'm cool with workers and clients and places I go to frequently. I go to the hospital to pick up what could be a decent fare for me. As soon as I pulled up and the lady came out, she took one look at me and immediately started complaining very loudly. I was hella obnoxious. She roasted my cab and said it was an old dirty beat-up jalopy. Whatever the heck that meant. Don't we have anything nicer? She wasn't deaf. She was just a jerk who wanted to scream and be difficult and try to embarrass me. Then a nurse was saying your insurance won't pay for any other transport, and she's trying to shove this woman into my van with Karen, screaming loudly, "See, I can't even get inside." Nurse is literally trying to shove her into the van. Yes, you can. The nurse says that. Finally, the straw that broke me was, this woman looked at me and said, "Move your crap out of the front seat so I can sit there." I have a cooler that I just got with my first chick and bought water and soda for my riders so they can be comfortable and so I won't feel self-conscious about drinking while it's hot and they might not have anything. It sits up front because it slides around too much, therefore not safe for customers sitting behind me. If she had asked nicely, I would have bent over backwards to accommodate her. I put my hand out and asked them both to back away from my vehicle. I shut the door and told Karen, "Good luck finding a ride." And I bounced. I made a complaint about her and they noticed that that's not the first time a driver complained about her, and they ended up banning her. If she would have been respectful, I would have bent over backwards. She still might be at the hospital as far as I know, and that's hilarious to me. The ER was bustling as usual, with patients coming in with all sorts of issues. I was busy tending to a young boy with a broken arm when the Karen walked in. Karen was in her mid-40s with a demanding voice that echoed across a room. She approached the reception demanding immediate attention for what seemed like a minor cut on her finger. "I need a doctor now. This is an emergency," she screamed. The receptionist, trying to maintain composure, explained the situation. "Ma'am, we understand your concern, but there are more critical cases ahead of you. We will get to you as soon as we can." Karen was having none of it. "What? I demand to see a doctor right this minute," she yelled, causing a scene. Other patients started to look uneasy, but Karen continued her tirade anyways. As I finished with a young boy, I decided to intervene, hoping to defuse the situation. "Ma'am, I'm one of the nurses here. I understand you're upset, but we need to prioritize patients based on the severity of their condition." Karen turned her fury towards me. "You're just a nurse. Give me a real doctor, or I'll have your job," she threatened. Things took a turn for the worse when an elderly man was wheeled in, clearly in a critical condition. As we rushed to attend to him, Karen lost it. "This is ridiculous. I was here first. I'll sue this hospital for neglect." In her anger, Karen pushed one of the other nurses, causing her to stumble. And that's when security was called. Karen, however, was not backing down. She started throwing things around, creating chaos in the ER. Security tried to restrain her, but she slapped one of the guards and kicked another. It was a complete meltdown. The other patients were terrified and the staff was struggling to keep the situation under control. "Let me go, you can't do this to me. I have rights." Karen screamed as she was being restrained. The police arrived shortly after and Karen was still shouting and resisting as they handcuffed her. "I'll have all of you fired. You'll see," she yelled as she was led out of the ER. I later learned that she was charged with assault and disrupting the peace. Working in an ER, you learn to expect the unexpected. So my friend and I were in our second year of college together and were roommates. We were both transfers and going into senior year and had been renting an apartment for the past year. The two of us had lived with 3 other people the first year, but they graduated and moved out. The apartment had 2 rooms and the den was double doors that could be used for one person. We had 2 people in each room and 1 in the den. We needed to find people to replace our old housemates. And my friend knew a couple of people who were living together who wanted to move to a new place together. She talked to them and set everything up before summer, so that way during the fall, we would already have everything figured out. We signed a lease before summer vacation and everything seemed fine. One girl wanted to rent out the big room to herself and would pay full price for it. Let's call her Shireen. The other one would live in a den who I will call Harry. There would only be 4 of us instead of 5 the coming year, which we were looking forward to. However, over the summer, Shireen started having second thoughts about living with Carrie. Apparently, while living together, they had some issues. Shireen called my friend and I and told us that apparently Carrie had pushed her down the stairs while they were living together, and she bought pepper spray and a taser just in case. According to Shireen, one night they thought they heard someone trying to break into their apartment and were standing at the top of the stairs listening. And that's when Carrie told Shireen to go check it out. Shireen didn't want to go, so Carrie pushed her and Shireen fell down the stairs. We asked Carrie about this, but she said that while they heard suspicious activity and called the police, she never pushed Shireen down the stairs. My friend and I didn't know what to believe and ultimately told Shireen they'd have to work it out, since she was the one having doubts. We also told her that if she changed her mind, we'd need at least a month's notice. Shireen decided she still wanted to live with us and was okay living with the other girl, so we thought it was fine. Summer passes and fall arrives. Shireen is moving in. Carrie is planning on moving in a few days later. However, Shireen brings someone over to the apartment and starts showing her around. She apparently wanted a roommate and wanted us to sign the new person onto our lease with an addendum. But she hadn't talked to us about it before. Apparently, she still didn't feel safe with Carrie around and said she'd feel safer with a roommate. She told her potential roommate she hadn't known she'd be living with Carrie, even though the 4 of us had signed an addendum to put them both on a lease at the same time. My friend and I thought things were getting weird at this point and started feeling concerned. Unfortunately, our lease was going to expire soon and we needed to sign the lease renewal in a few days. And we couldn't get an addendum to sign the new person on until we signed the lease renewal. My friend and I had let Shireen and Carrie know this in advance and they had agreed beforehand to sign it. If we didn't sign it in time, we would have to start an entirely new lease, and the price would go up a lot, which we couldn't afford. So, if we didn't sign our new lease agreement in time, we would all have to find another place to live. Since school was about to start, it would have been hard to find another place to live so quickly. This wouldn't have been an issue, but then Shireen was afraid that Carrie would sign the new person onto the lease, and said she wouldn't sign the lease renewal if we didn't add her roommate first. We got pissed because she had never even asked us if we were okay with living with one more person, or let us know beforehand. And now she was risking everyone's place to stay to try and make us sign someone we'd never met onto the lease. We told Shireen we couldn't sign her roommates on before renewing the lease since we had to renew it so soon, which was the apartment's rule. She kept making more demands and told us that if we didn't do what she wanted, then she wouldn't sign the lease renewal and we'd all be without a place to live. She wanted me to observe a verbal agreement as a third-party person between her and Carrie, where Carrie would agree to sign the new person onto the lease after we signed the lease renewal. I told her I wasn't comfortable with this, and this is where the fun starts. Carrie seemed nice so far, and my friend and I were really uncomfortable with how Shireen was acting. She continued to move all of her stuff in while telling us her conditions. We wouldn't agree to any of them, not only because there was no way to meet them under the rules of our apartment complex, but also because we weren't going to let this girl control us like that and make us live with someone we didn't know if we wanted to live with. However, Shireen came up with a clever idea. She said that we could sign her off on the lease with an addendum, then sign the lease renewal with Carrie, and then sign her and her roommate back onto the lease. That way, she would have no chance of getting stuck on a lease without a roommate. My friend and I told her that we agreed to this, and told Carrie as well, who also agreed. My friend and I went to the office to let them know, so they wrote the addendum to take Shireen off of the lease. Everyone in the apartment had to sign it in order for it to be valid. My friend, Carrie, and I signed it. I waited for Shireen to sign it after telling her it was ready. She went downstairs and signed herself off of the lease. After this, she came back and my friend and I informed her that we wouldn't be signing her back onto the lease. She got really upset. She told us that if we didn't want to live with her, she would have signed herself off anyways, but we didn't believe her. She started crying and told us that she had just finished setting up her desk, but we didn't care. She had threatened 3 other people's security and place to live, as well as her potential roommates. She went outside and slammed the door. My friend and I were relieved it was over and that we wouldn't be losing our apartment. We just needed to find someone to take her place. Shireen came back in with a smug look on her face and told me she had her mom on the phone and her mom wanted to talk to one of us. I took the phone and put it on speaker while my friend listened. Carrie went to her space and closed the door. When I answered the phone, Shireen's mom went off on me. She called me a jerk and told me to go to hell. I stayed calm and told her that I stood by the decision we made. She told me to go to hell several more times and she told me Shireen had nowhere to go and I didn't give a rat's crap. I told her that she was right. I didn't. Her mom told me to go to hell one more time and she hung up. I gave the phone back to Shireen, who seemed surprised that I wasn't intimidated. She whispered sorry as I gave her phone back to her. Then she went to her room to take her stuff apart and start packing. Since we paid the lease in advance for our place as per the apartment's rules, Shireen had paid to stay until the end of the month. So we let her stay until then. This gave her about 5 days to figure something else out. She made it as difficult as possible, but eventually left. Pretty sure I didn't see her on campus or anything after that, so that was the last time I saw her. The best part is that the girl who was going to be Shireen's roommate still needed a place to stay, so we signed her onto the lease and helped her find a roommate. It was actually a fairly lengthy battle, but in the end, we won our apartment back. Word of advice, don't sign people onto your lease months in advance, even if they will pay for their room while they are not there. People can make a lot of changes in a few months, and if they don't know you, they won't care about screwing you over. I, 26 female, have a pretty close group of friends. We have this one girl in our group, Sadie, 27 female, and she has a disability that is mostly manageable through medication. Despite this, Sadie has a bit of a habit of forgetting to take her pills right before we do something she isn't interested in doing. This time, it was on a group trip we've been planning for over a year. Due to how high the cost of the trip was, we each decided to take a day and plan an activity that the whole group would participate in. We also rented a van together to get to our destination, as that was the most ideal situation. The first issue with Sadie came up when getting to our destination. Due to the length of the drive, everyone was going to be driving an hour to get to our destination. Right before it was Sadie's turn, she had a flare-up and could not drive. Our friend took over. The next morning, my friend had planned a tour of the town. We all reminded Sadie several times to take her medication, as this was an expensive tour and we did not want it to be cut short. Well, she had forgotten and the tour had to be cut short. And this is when I got genuinely upset because this was now my money being wasted. Throughout the week, she had flare-ups pretty often. The actual fight that led to this post occurred on my day though. The previous day, Sadie had no flare-ups. It was also her day to plan. This was because she had set alarms to take her medication regularly so that she would be okay. We all reminded her to please take her pills like that again. I decided to take all my friends on a trail ride on horses, as the trails in this town are known for being absolutely beautiful. We paid extra for a basics lesson prior to the trailer. In the basics lesson, we were all paired off based on experience and performance in a small arena that they had. I was paired with Sadie. Well, 1/4 of the way through the trail, she started having a flare-up. I told her that I would not be turning around as this was expensive and that I was truly looking forward to this. She begged me to turn around, and finally the ranger told us that I had to turn around with her as she was my partner. In the car, I told her that she knew how important this was to me and that she just should have taken the pills. She told me that I was being ableist and that I didn't know what the pills did to her. We got into a huge argument in which I said, if your disability cannot take being a good friend, then maybe you shouldn't come on these trips anyway. While I agree that it was harsh, I didn't think I was in the wrong considering that she had cost us so much money over the years for simply not wanting to do something. My other friends agree that Sadie is inconvenient at times, but that I should have been more sensitive to her condition. I'm honestly torn on whether to apologize or not. And now with some comments on the post. Someone saying, the words could have been chosen better, but I understand where the anger is coming from. I also have a health condition that can flare up, and while I'm not sure what's up with Sadie, if she doesn't want to take her meds, then she knows she needs to stay home. She was able to keep on top of them for her day, but no one else's, and just happens to flare up before her turn to drive. Were there any other flares on a drive, or just when it was her turn? Either way, maybe you could apologize for how you worded it, but not about being angry with her for what she did. Another commenter adds, Sadie has repeatedly refused to take responsibility for her disability by not taking her medication. This invariably makes her ill, and she knows that. Therefore, she becomes a liability to her friends. She is in fact a disloyal friend. You were not at all out of line for being upset with her when she wanted to cut the trip short. It would be better if she didn't come on these trips, as long as she doesn't want to manage her disability. I don't know what her disability is or how her medicine would affect her negatively, but surely these flare-ups do not do her any good either. A third commenter goes with, as someone who is also disabled and unable to do certain things, I would just not go as to not hold the group back. I think it's still in that she let it slip, that it's not that she forgets, but you don't know what the pills do to her. That right there. She doesn't like one of the side effects, but isn't being honest about it until pressed. A fourth commenter seals it with, everybody's a jerk. Sadie should not agree to outings that she knows she probably can do without taking medication she doesn't want to take. But your friend's group seems to be choosing activities based on what Sadie can do on her best days, and that's not working. If you want a vacation with Sadie in the future, I suggest either planning activities that either aren't strenuous, lying on a beach, not horseback riding, driving tours, not walking tours, or that have a clear exit plan for Sadie if she needs to stop early, or stop vacationing together, but choosing activities without regard for Sadie's disability and its typical impacts isn't working out well for anyone.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.